think what Donald Trump is launching is an assault on incumbency, those who are in power, by mobilizing a supremacism against the incumbency at home, and I think I've illustrated abroad as well.
Hello, folks. Welcome back. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania. Yesterday on my program, I had the Deputy Minister for Defense and Military Veterans, Major General retired Bantu Holomisa, a frequent guest on the program over the years, leader of the United Democratic Movement in South Africa. He came on and we talked about rising tensions between the U.S. and South Africa. Both of us talked about the need for adults to enter the room and for the personal attacks to stop, the nonsense, and for the U.S. and South Africa to discuss their differences and make progress here for the good of both countries, particularly for South Africa. And we agreed on that. We disagreed on some points, and it was an interesting conversation, and that's the sort of cogent, lucid discourse that one needs when it comes to diplomacy. However, less than 24 hours later, another own goal by South Africa's government.
The supremacist assault on incumbency, we see it in the domestic politics of the USA, the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement, as a response, not simply to a supremacist instinct.
Notwithstanding the conversation I had yesterday with General Holomisa, it seems that South Africa's government of national unity, led by the ANC, wants sanctions on South Africa. What other conclusion can one come to? They clearly want to break the relationship with the United States. I mean, what is the point of this nonsense? Specifically, the foolhardy idea to appoint once again Ebrahim Rasool, an America-hating, anti-white, anti-Christian person who went to the United States as ambassador previously and is back again now, who hates America and who says disparaging comments about President Trump. And you appoint him to be the ambassador in Washington. Do you really think that anyone's going to invite him to a cocktail party? Nobody wants to hear what Ebrahim Rasool has to say. No wonder the South African government cannot get an appointment with the Trump administration to discuss their differences. Solidarity can. AfriForum can. The Democratic Alliance can all go to the White House. But nobody wants to talk to South Africa. Gee, I wonder why when you appoint someone like this. And here's the latest. Less than 24 hours after I said that we need calm and General Holomisa agree with me. South African Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool told participants in a foreign policy seminar today that United States President Donald Trump is leading a white supremacist movement in America and around the world. This is absolute insanity. This is bigotry and racism the highest order, race hustling. Rasool was addressing the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection, MISTRA, in Joburg via Zoom in an attempt to explain Trump's recent foreign policy stances against South Africa's property expropriation legislation and its alliances with Iran and Hamas, among many other things. Now, in this, and an article is published on Breitbart, I'll put the link to it, by Joel Pollack, Rasool said that white supremacism was motivating Trump's disrespect for the current hegemonic order of the world, including institutions like the United Nations and the G20. Disrespect for the hegemonic order. We are the world's hegemon. How are we disrespecting it? No, the world order has been turned upside down by leftists over the past decade, and it's being restored to where it was. Now, he also said that the Make America Great Again movement was a white supremacist response to growing demographic diversity in the United States, and suggested that South African farmers who had presented Afrikaner grievances within the U.S. were part of that global effort. Talk about not reading the room. Talk about intentionally poking the bear. Talk about intentionally pissing off your benefactor. Well, you've already lost $440 million a year in annual foreign aid, which you didn't deserve. You're already an illegal participant in the African Growth and Opportunity Act by violating private property rights with the passage of Expropriation Without Compensation Act. What else do you want to come your way? You lose that duty-free access, $3 billion a year. Do you want embargoes? Do you want trade sanctions? Do you want to be blacklisted, graylisted? Do you want to be removed from the SWIFT system? Keep pushing for it. When you send the likes of Ebrahim Rasool to insult America and lie about America, a white supremacist response. First off, America is 75% white. When I was born, it was 89% white. So what happened? A bunch of old white guys in Congress, mostly Republicans and some Democrats, in the 1960s decided that America should open up its doors to more people. The old white guys did that. Not women, not people of color, old white guys. Take a look at the makeup of the United States House of Representatives and the Senate in the early 1960s. Not many black faces, not many women. Just a bunch of old white guys who opened this country up. White supremacists. Give me a frickin' break. It's a majority white country. It's not about race. Being an American isn't a race thing. It's an idea. It's a concept. Ebrahim Rasool, South African politician and diplomat who was the ambassador from South Africa to the United States 2010 to 2015. He's back in 2025. He's a member of the ANC. He was in the National Assembly from 2009 to 2010 and became the fifth premier of the Western Cape when the ANC briefly controlled the Western Cape from 2004 to 2008. And it was disastrous, absolutely disastrous. Talk about not reading the room. This is absolute stupidity of the highest order. Let's listen to what he has to say.
So in terms of that, the supremacist assault on incumbency, we see it in the domestic politics of the USA, the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement, as a response, not simply to a supremacist instinct, but to very clear data that shows great demographic shifts in the USA, in which the voting electorate in the USA is projected to become 48% white, and that the possibility of a majority of minorities is looming on the horizon.
The possibility of a majority of minorities is looming on the horizon. You're not reading the data correctly, pal. You're not reading it correctly. And it really doesn't matter. Who's talking about race? Who's doing the race hustling here? We're not talking about race in America. You're the one bringing it up. And what does it have to do with the actions of South Africa? Nothing. Not a damn thing.
Some of the things that we think are instinctive, nativist, racist things, I think that there's data that, for example...
Instinctivist, nativist, racist. Wow. This is your ambassador to America, sitting in America in the lap of luxury and comfort, protected by American security services, calling us racist. Who's the racist here?
That, for example, would support that would go to this wall being built, the deportation movement, etc., etc. So I think I mentioned that.
I think he did mention that. The wall being built is a racist thing. Stupid people should wear signs. That way you wouldn't ask them questions. Seriously, folks. The wall. So New York Times story running today, or Washington Post story, is running about Germans being booted out of the country for illegally entering the country. They're white. They're criminal alien invaders. It's not our fault that the borders aren't flooded with Germans or Russians or Estonians trying to flee their countries. People are fleeing broken countries. And they happen to be people who are color. Well, that isn't our responsibility. But if they enter the country illegally, they're criminal alien invaders. And that's not racist. See, this is endless race hustling from South African politicians, sitting in a lap of luxury, sitting in America and insulting us like this as an ambassador. Look, it's one thing if he came here as a tourist to complain about the country, that's his prerogative. If he felt he's mistreated by Americans and did a video and had a conference saying Americans are racist, I was treated poorly because I'm a person of color, that's his prerogative. But for diplomatic relations to have your ambassador sitting in the country and calling it racist, if the ANC doesn't recall Ebrahim Rasool, it's game over, folks. I mean, I don't know how long the Trump administration is going to continue to be patient. They're being attacked and called names every single day, and all the Trump administration has done is end foreign assistance to South Africa. That's it. And make an offer to people who they feel are being discriminated against. That's why the refugee program exists. People's lives are in peril because of racial discrimination, warfare, gender, their political ideology. We allow people from all over the world to come here every year. So this man sits here and calls America racist, calls Trump racist, when we take in thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of refugees from all over the world. And who are these refugees? Are they Irish? No. Are they Norwegian? No. Are they Swedish? No. Are they German? No. They're Venezuelan. They're Cuban. They're Yemenis. They're Afghans. They're Iraqis. People of color. Rohingya. Uyghurs. Not white people. How can you sit there and call America racist when we do this? Because you don't understand. Stop projecting your own race hustling onto America. It's disgraceful. Wow. It's like watching Aliens. I don't know if you're keeping score, man. We just got our asses kicked. It's game over. Well, South Africa's politicians are certainly trying to get a game over. They want a breach in the relations. They want to be the underdog, the victim. I said this a month ago about Cyril Ramaphosa. This can't be by accident. It has to be intentional. Either that or we're dealing with the dumbest people ever in government. And I find that hard to believe. We've had dumber. What say you? Cheers.